it is emotionally supercharged. You
No
know,
doubt.
you're talking about the parents that took you to the ball games, the parents that
Yeah.
fed you, that changed your diaper. Now the
Right.
roles are switched, and you're taking care, and it's just a ton of emotion, a ton of responsibility, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of pitfalls. So this podcast is timely, and I'm glad we're able to offer some solutions and maybe some clarity to this situation.
Absolutely. And since we have some life experience with it, we'll try to weave all that in. Welcome to the fundamentals of real estate. I'm your host, Angela Dillman. This is my wealth building partner, Glen Calvin from Guild Mortgage.
Yeah,
Question of the
back.
day.
Yes.
What's the biggest mistake people make as they age?
That's a great question.
Oh, since Glenn knows everything, he's going to give us the answer today. That's for sure.
A bunch of answers, but I guess one of the things I was thinking about is, what do you consider old?
What do I
what
consider
is old to you?
I don't know. My son was saying the other day, he's like, yeah, there were some older people. I'm like, oh, just how old do you think they are? And he's like, 60s. And I'm like, okay, so I'm old? All right.
So what I've always heard is you take your age plus 15.
Plus 15,
so
anybody's 15 years.
Yeah, if you're 25, a 40-year-old is old.
There.
When you're 60, 75, that's old.
Yeah, that's right. And so the goalpost moves as you age, that's for sure.
In all reality, the population is aging.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, 1 in 6 people are 65 or older.
That's just crazy.
That grew 39% in the last decade, Glenn.
That's crazy.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
In half in half the counties in the United States of America, older adults outnumber children.
That's just crazy.
That is absolutely crazy. And
that's when I read it, almost 80% of people over 65 own their own homes. That brings it into the fun and the mentals of real estate.
The fun and mentals.
Because the thing is, what do you do? What are my options? And a lot of us, we talk about the sandwich generation, where we're in the middle, where we're sandwiched with children that we're trying to help, get out of high school, college, help them start their lives, and aging parents that we're going to help. And people in that middle, that sandwich generation, that's a lot of work and a lot of responsibility.
It is, and I feel like I've been in the sandwich part of it. I'm probably just starting. I'm going to be out of it soon because I have a last parent, my mother-in-law, that we've been helping these last 5-10 years. Went through it with my parents already, and they've passed. So, you do feel like you're in, and all of a sudden you're out of the sandwich generation, and then you're considered old. So, anyway, there are like 7 options people have as they age, right? And most people think about maybe 2 or 3 options, but there's really at least 7.
And it's so comforting to know that there's more, because one thing I want to say as we get into this, it is emotionally supercharged. You're talking about the parents that took you to the ball games, the parents that fed you, that changed your diaper. Now the roles are switched, and you're taking care, and it's just a ton of emotion, a ton of responsibility. And there's a lot of pitfalls. So this podcast is timely, and I'm glad we're able to offer some solutions and maybe some clarity to this situation.
Absolutely. And since we have some life experience with it, we'll try to weave all that in.
You were wonderful in helping with my mom, and she's going to moving from the big house that we all grew up in, that they were there for almost 40 years, into another community. You were
right. So that's one of the options is to downsize into a smaller home.
So let's
and
look
that's
at
what your mom did.
Yes.
And that was emotional for her. That was a 50-year home for her.
It was crazy,
right?
Yes.
And
built it in 71, and my father built a house. And
hard to let go.
Yeah, it was. But it worked out wonderfully for her. So, prior to her making that decision, I guess number 1 on our list of 7 is just to kind of stay where you're at. And she did that until she was almost 78 years old.
Oh, wow, yeah. So she did a long
she
time.
Did. It was,
and you can move through these options. It's not like you got to pick one and that's the end, right? You move through them, and I think the staying is one. And if you're healthy enough to do stairs and you have stairs, it's great. But other than that, I mean, there's things like, grab bars and walk-in showers and, how much help do you need when you're home?
Yes.
And I think a lot of that just depends on your mobility, for one, right? And some people never want to let go, and I think that's the hardest part.
It is. And the other thing we did a whole podcast on the home equity conversion mortgage or reverse mortgage, which allows a lot of people that are maybe cash poor but equity rich to stay in that house. So, staying isn't always a bad option, and it worked well for her for a long time.
Right, up until a certain point.
Right.
right? And I think one, if not the biggest mistake that we'll talk about here, is just waiting to have the conversations.
None of this gets better by putting it off, kicking the can down the road.
None
really
of
doesn't
it gets
work.
better. It's the waiting part, right? And I think if you don't wait for yourself, if you're aging, you need to have these conversations with yourself.
Yes.
With your spouse, with your kids, with your family, with who. And one of the things is just picking someone that's going to help you in the family make this decision, because from experience, I just have to tell you that someone has to make the decision. And as you age yourself, as you age or your parents age, you need help making this. You're not always completely thinking clear, because to Glenn's point, it is emotionally charged and hard to let go. Yeah. And in my mother-in-law's case, you know, my husband is her power of attorney, and he had to, at times, he's like, Mom, it's time.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to be the bad guy, but waiting to have these conversations is not healthy, because most of people make them win.
And we were talking earlier about your mom moving from the single family house she lived in Illinois to a senior community.
Oh, my mother-in-law. Yeah,
your mother-in-law.
Yeah, my mother-in-law. So she was, in a home, and she was renting the home actually, and she had some friends there, but then they all passed away. I mean, she's 87 now, going to be 88 soon, and it was like, wow, you're isolated. That was one. It wasn't that she couldn't get around the house. It was a little bungalow, but that was aging. The house itself was aging.
She didn't have a community, right?
She didn't have a community, and though she wanted to live with us, the problem was she was still very mobile. She's very social, and I was like, Mom, there's nothing. We don't have a sidewalk where we live out on acreage. She doesn't have the hobbies for acreage, right? Like gardening or something like that. I'm like, you would be bored to tears here. You would have some interaction, but nothing like a senior community. So, thinking about staying, you're going to look at reverse mortgages. You're going to look at cash out if you need cash. So the problem with staying is you're going to need to upgrade the house. You may need some assistance in the house. And then there's do you have the money to stay?
Right.
So I kept my mother, in my mother's case, in her home as long as I could. And it's like, hey, it's time to go. We're out of money, and it's not safe.
And maybe you're just going to sell the big house and buy a smaller house.
Maybe you're going to do that. And in Glenn's mom's case, she's in what is she living in now?
It's like a senior adult community. They all own their own. They all own their own duplexes, or each half of a duplex.
A villa.
But they watch out for each other. They hang out together. They go places together. If her neighbor hasn't seen her in a couple of days, she calls me. Say, hey, what's going on? I haven't seen your mom in a while.
So she got into a villa community that happened in a nice little cul-de-sac there. It happened to be in other ladies her age that also own them, and they've formed a nice community. And that's the biggest thing here is isolation is a big deal.